Hello students, today we shall be discussing on the role of seasonality in tourism. After going through this lesson, you will be able to appreciate the role of seasonality in tourism. Along with that, you can understand the relationship between seasonality and destination. And the third point in this is, after studying this unit, you can understand the impact of seasonality and its role in promoting marketing strategies at the destination. And we will be discussing the emerging trends of seasonality in the last part of our presentation. Very often you must have heard this term, oh, it's a tourist season. What does it mean? Well, there are tourists all around the place. You may have also heard a hotelier saying, this was a bad season. Here he is not talking about the climate, but in terms of his business, which did not yield him the expected profits during that particular time period. So, in this discussion, we shall try to understand the linkages of seasonality and tourism. Now, before we proceed further, let us first understand the difference between climate and seasonality. Climate and seasons are two words that we have often heard in meteorology. Climate is considered to be an average conditions that are expected at a certain place over a number of years. So, the main difference between the two is that season changes within 4 time periods in a year, while climate is consistent and does not change for a long time period. Now, for our discussion, the purpose is to understand how seasonality influences our business. In terms of the definition, seasonality in tourism is defined as a temporal imbalance in the phenomena of tourism, which may be expressed in terms of dimensions of such elements as number of visitors, expenditure of visitors, traffic on highways and other forms of transportation, employment and admissions to attractions. This seasonality is a characteristic of a time series in which the data experiences regular and predictable changes that reoccur every calendar year. Any predictable fluctuations or patterns that recur or repeat over a 1-year time period is said to be seasonal. Now, to talk about it in a simple words, let us first understand in India how many seasons we experience. So, according to the geography, seasonality in India can be divided into 4 time periods, as we are in the northern hemisphere. The first season is the spring season, that is from 21st March to 20th of June. The second one is summer, 21st June to 22nd September. Third one autumn, 23rd September to 21st December, and in the last we experience winter, 22nd December to 20th March. Now, you all have experienced various seasons in your own life, and every day you plan according to the changes in season. Now, let me first talk about the spring season. Spring season is a time which is basically for vacations, when the winter is just shredding its coat and the pleasant weather is making its way to the country. It is an ideal time to plan for any tourism activities. So, for beach lovers, they go to destinations like Goa and Kovalam, and for adventure seekers, Coorg and Munnar are the ideal escape points. Let me tell you some important and popular spring travel areas in India: Gangtok and Sikkim, parts of Himachal Pradesh, Kullu Manali, Darjeeling in West Bengal, Valley of Flowers in Uttarakhand, Kasauli in Himachal Pradesh. Whereas, when we talk about the summer season, India starts heating up around the end of February, first in the northern hemisphere and in the rest of the country. So, by April, many places experience daily temperature exceeding 40 degrees centigrade. However, it stays cooler in the southern parts of the country, where the temperature reaches around 35 degrees centigrade. It is not very hot, but it is more humid. In India, the perfect time for visiting mountains and hill stations. The air there is fresh and soothing, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand are the popular destinations, and if you are a wildlife tourist or an eco tourist and you want to spot tigers in a natural environment, then summer is also the best time to visit your national parks, because most of the animals come out in search of water. The next season that we experience is autumn, is when you dust off your backpacks, put on your walking shoes, book some tickets and may move to either Kashmir, Jaisalmer, the Great Himalayan National Park, Pondicherry, Binsar, Kalimpong, parts of Meghalaya. And the last season that we experience in India is the winter season. December and January are the busiest months, as you know, in terms of tourism. Daytime winter temperatures are comfortable. It's chilly at night, but in south you don't experience this kind of a temperature. So, it's complete contrast to the freezing temperature experienced around the Himalayan region. So, it's a good idea to travel to desert states of Rajasthan during winter and also parts of southern India. So, now at this point of time, let me summarize the role of natural factors in seasonality. So, the first factor that we had studied was basically the role of seasons, and to sum it up, I can give you a further detail about it, that each part of India, each geographical dimension of India has its own special advantages, and seasonality has its own role to play at the destination. So, we were discussing about the role of seasonality, and we had studied now that there are 4 seasons in India, and all the 4 seasons have a direct impact on tourism traffic at the destination. Now, let me take up the case of Northeast. Sikkim is one of the most popular tourist attractions. It is a state which is attracting more tourists in the region, and tourism is an important means of livelihood to the people of Sikkim. However, tourism in this small Himalayan state faces problems of seasonality. There is a lack of specialization of different forms of tourism like winter tourism or adventure sports tourism or local tourism activities, and there are different regulations that are applicable both to the foreign and domestic tourist. As a result, the motivation to travel is extremely different in terms of both the foreign tourist as well as the local tourist from different parts of India. As this leads to high level of seasonality in tourism industry in this particular region. Feeling of insecurity among tourists is another reason. Sikkim is an earthquake prone zone, and sometimes there are landslides, heavy rains resulting in the loss of life and property. So, climate, as we discussed, is over a large geographical area, and season is for a small area and it varies. So, we now can sum up what are the various factors that influence seasonality or a temporal imbalance in the tourism flow, and these reasons can be basically divided into 3 categories. The first category, as I discussed with you, is the geographical reasons. The second category are the institutional reasons. These institutional reasons can be further subdivided into holiday season in a particular month. For example, we all know that during summer vacations everybody loves to travel. There could be public religious events. Lot of festival activity takes place in West Bengal during the time of Durga Puja, or you have lots and lots of visitors for a Ganesh Chaturthi festival in Mumbai. All this leads to growth of tourism and heavy footfall of tourism at the destination, health of economy, and the third part in this is the role of social factors. Social factors here stand for fashion. It stands for basically a kind of a motivation to go outside India, to travel to nearby countries as well as for special purposes. So, these 3 factors are the most important determinants as far as seasonality is concerned. Another aspect in the social arena is also pilgrimage tourism. You must have also experienced that lots and lots of religious seekers visit Kumbh Mela. You must have recently read a lot about Kumbh Mela in Allahabad and the special arrangements government had made for the devotees and the pilgrims. So, all these events, melas, fairs, festivals also are associated with a particular time frame or a time zone in a particular country and leads to growth of tourism at the destination. So, the next part is now what is the benefit of studying seasonality for us as a student of tourism. The benefit is that since it is a temporary imbalance which is caused by these factors, if I am a hotelier, I am a travel agent or I am interested in providing services to the tourist, it helps me to forecast the number of tourists or the visitors and their seasons in a particular year. Second, I can upgrade my facilities, provide them better provisions, better infrastructure facilities at the destination. I can come up with new and innovative products. If I feel that I am on a circuit and tourists will be visiting 2-3 neighboring destinations, so I can plan my itinerary, I can tie up with the local car rental agencies, I can also tie up with my local guides and escorts. Seasonality also helps in planning for an integrated development of the destination both at the local and at the state level. Now, let us understand the concept of generating and receiving areas in seasonality. Receiving areas are those areas which receive or provide adequate provisions for the supply of tourism activities. So, it is the location of the supplier that is very important. In the receiving area, the cultural, religious, ethnic and social activities of the destination also influence the type and number of visitors. For example, there are a lot of visitors which visit a sacred shrine of Mecca. There are sports lovers which attend the major sporting events around the world. In US, for example, the Super Bowl draws baseball fans from across the continent, whereas in Europe and South America, you have the World Cup which attracts thousands of supporters. And of course, you know that cricket also is one of the major motivating factors which promote people to travel. So, in terms of the receiving area, in terms of the supply side of the destination, what are the various aspects we have to take into account? The first and foremost is that when we have a huge footfall of tourists at the destination, there is an increased amount of prices and inflation in the prices of basic goods due to the growth of tourism in the area. Second is the cost of seasonal recruiting. Hoteliers, travel agents and service providers require manpower and they have to pay extra to them to get the services done through them. It could be overutilization of the resources, pressure on transportation system. For example, whenever you visit a hill station, you do find that during busy seasons or peak season, there is a problem of parking of your cars, the room tariffs are very high, the food is not as per your choice and there are basic problems in terms of managing the overall tour activities. This also leads to shortage of manpower at times and you are not able to get trained manpower to serve you. So, at the time of peak seasons, these are the problems we face and I think you must have read in newspapers also that that tourists visiting Nainital or visiting Kullu Manali, Shimla, all of them face lot of traffic jams, they face problems related to high price of fuel as well as problems related to ATM facilities and Wi-Fi connectivity. So, as a student, let us now understand the benefits of lean season, a season where we have less of tourists. We have studied now so far that if we have a high season or if we have a peak season, it can have a negative impact on our destination. But if the season is low, what could be the positive effects of a quiet season? First point, it is a period of rest for both the regeneration of the natural resources and renewal of economy. Second, the local inhabitants are able to preserve their traditional lifestyle and identity and redesign it through time. While a restless use of natural resources can cause harm to the environment, the seasonality, by reducing the flow of visitor, can have beneficial attributes for the sociological and ecological refreshing of environment. So, we can say that yes, lean seasons or low seasons help us to plan further, they help us to analyze our resources, to come up with more practices that are eco-friendly, and also to reduce the pressure of population on the land. Next point that we have to see is that what are the negative impacts of peak season, which can be further subdivided into categories. One is the economic impact, the second one is the impact on employability, third one is ecological, and the fourth one is socio-cultural impact. Now, let us take an example. Suppose if you wish to go and visit a place such as a Char Dham Yatra in Uttarakhand, the economic impact related to seasonality could be that during high seasons you will be able to earn a good amount of money, provide a better employment, but on the other hand, when it is a low season, then the rate of employment will be very low and there will be instability within the job market. Another factor that is influenced by the overall activity is that it interrupts the continuity of the employment in the employment cycle. In few months of the year, you need more manpower, and in certain months of the year, you need less manpower, which leads to an impact on employee loyalty and its attraction or its role in developing the organization overall. The next point that we have to take into account is that if you are an entrepreneur in a business activity, then again you have to develop, you have to invest in new areas and new technology and come up with new products and services which lead to better customer satisfaction. So, on the one hand, during the peak season, you come to know about the changing customer preferences, you can understand their motivation to travel, and on the other hand, during the lean season, you can also come up with certain specific marketing strategies to promote the destination. In terms of ecology, we can say that it is basically the pressure of visitors' concentration on a specific area. During peak seasons, we have already discussed that there are a lot of adverse impact in terms of pollution or problems of pressure on land, but during off seasons, we can come up with more eco-friendly and natural practices. The last part of seasonality is related with the socio-cultural impact. That is, the changes in the social characteristics of tourism destinations which are related with foreign cultural influences and the interferences with the lifestyle of local societies. It is also related in terms of overpopulation, in terms of cost of public services and crime index due to the increased flow of people. So, during the peak seasons you experience all this, you experience problems related to police, related to sanitation facilities and medical facilities, increased risk of accidents and a kind of a negative impact on the traditional lifestyle of the locals. But during lean seasons, the locals can come up with their own new versions of tourism products. They can plan for small social events and they can also come up with their strategies to prepare the handicrafts and design the handicrafts according to the local needs. So, what we have studied so far is that seasonality has its own impact both during the peak seasons and low seasons, and as a tourist professional, we have to now think about the various strategies that we should use to have an extended seasonality at the destination. So, we have understood that there are advantages and risks associated with the peak and lean seasons as far as seasonality is concerned. We have also understood that seasonality affects all aspects of supply side behavior in tourism. That includes marketing, pricing, packaging and distribution, the labor market, nature and quality of employment, skill availability and sustainability of employment, business finances, cash flow, pricing and attracting investments, stakeholder management, that is suppliers and intermediaries, and this seasonality plays a very important role and in terms of the operational concerns of tourism in both public and private sector. Now friends, let me discuss with you the concept of extended seasonality. So, this is the third concept we are studying in terms of the peak as well as the lean season. For example, if I give you an option to visit Shimla in December, I think you will enjoy. You will enjoy the snow, you will enjoy adventure activities at the destination, and probably you would like to spend more time at the destination because to experience this pleasant weather and its changes. So, seasonality is characterized by a cyclic pattern. You have a high season during a specific time period, then you have an empty season and you have a mid season in between the peak and the low period. But there are certain destinations across the globe which are not at all influenced by seasonality. For example, Singapore and Hong Kong, the concept is not at all applicable because the destinations are available throughout the year and it is the place where there is a dynamic seasonality or a multi-demand seasonality which is not associated with a fixed time period. So, when we look at the global level, we do find that there are variations continent wise and there are variations country wise in terms of the applicability of this term. Now, the last part of our discussion is that the concept of extended seasonality. So, I was sharing with you the example that during winter season, if I give you a proposal to visit parts of Uttarakhand or parts of Kashmir or visit any hill station, I think many of you would opt for. This is what is the concept of off season or extended seasonality, a time of a year when a destination see fewer travelers. In beaches or tropical destinations, it could be a rainy season. In a ski destination, it is generally winter time. So, it depends on the summertime, winter time, it depends on the destination, it depends on the hemisphere, the continent and the environment in which we are. This also is known as in popular tourism language as shoulder season. Shoulder season means a season of off season where people travel and they get the benefits of traveling to the destination. It is a transition period between the high and the low season and it is a very good way to save money without giving up the high season benefits. Now, let us share the benefits of off season. The first is the flights are cheaper. Whenever you are traveling in such seasons, you will find that you will be able to get much more comfortable flights and you will be able to get quick confirmations and reservations. Domestic travel in the United States around Thanksgiving is one of the best times to travel, and traveling during off seasons you not only get a lot of extra benefits and services, but also it is a comfortable journey for you compared to the other aspects of the time zones. Second, hotels. As you know, accommodation is a very important component going hand in hand with flights. Many hotels drop their rates and they run into different deals and various special offers at the time of the year to attract as many guests as possible. Then you don't have to worry about the confirmations, you don't have to do reservations in advance, and you get a lot of additional facilities and off season discounts and packages at that point of time. At the destination, no crowd, very less crowd. In terms of booking your transportation, your tour itinerary, your activities, your dinner reservations well in advance, they will be all confirmed, and you will be able to get good deals in that. During crowded times, it is really difficult, but during off seasons, you have a lot of flexibility to decide what do you want to do, and you do not have to plan for weeks and weeks in advance, and it opens up the possibility that you might even get a very good last minute deal for certain activities. So, the benefits of seasonality or an off season discount over a year is basically it helps you to be budget friendly, it helps you to come up with new and innovative ideas, you can save your travel money, you do not have to pay heavy charges, because prices at peak times are generally double and triple because of high demand. You might have to struggle to find an accommodation or flight that suits your budget, and even luxury destinations like Maldives becomes incredible, very affordable during the local wet season. So, you can do a lot of shopping and you can fulfill your dreams. Another social aspect of going to the destinations during off season is that once crowds are gone, tourists are gone, the locals can step back and relax. It is a time to engage in conversation with you, they can tell their stories, they can recommend the best places to eat, and also you can get the best tour guide with a very subsidized concession to help you to go around the city. This authentic experience is readily available only when the place is not overcrowded. You learn from each other's culture and customs, it reduces the negative perceptions and stereotyping, and develops a state of friendship and increased self-esteem between the host and the tourist. The psychological satisfaction with the interaction of the tourist is also immense, and the recent studies have found that 79% of the Americans consider to go for an overseas trip during winters, and 53% of them are not seeking a change in the weather whenever they are motivated to travel to warmer temperatures. The winter festivals around the world attract millions of visitors, such as Chinese Harbin Ice Festival, which had over 1 million visitors last year. A number of hotels are being opened up for tourists during off seasons. There are various government strategies, including promotion of festivals and events, holiday packages, as well as discounted accommodation at natural and heritage sites for the tourist. So, the focus of all these activities during off season is to promote an equitable balance of tourism at the destination. In the end of the presentation, I would like to discuss with you, as a hotelier, tour operator, what can you do to address the problems of seasonality? The first and the foremost is you can promote and develop new products such as cultural tourism or cuisines. You can also come up with strategies to attract new markets to encourage visitation in low seasons. You can expand your products by packaging it, for example, special occasion packages for accommodation and restaurants. You can create greater visitation, repeat visitation or length stay in order to sustain and expand the expenditure of the tourist. And the other initiatives as a hotelier you can take up is you can promote group book offerings, you can introduce new special events in your hotels, you can come up with a discounted itinerary or packages with the help of online travel agencies, and you can also come up with your own financial planning and budgetary provisions to come up with various concessions and incentives for both international and global travelers. So, to sum up, I would like to share with you that seasonality is an important concept that as a hotelier or as a tourist professional we must understand. We have understood that we are in the northern hemisphere. We know that in our country we experience various seasons. These seasons are influenced not only by the climatical variations at the destination, but are also influenced by the various factors. So, whenever you are as a travel consultant planning a tour itinerary or advising your tourist, then the best part you have to take into account is offer them and promote them new destinations, encourage them to visit those places in off seasons, so that they get the maximum benefit of the travel. They can economize on the cost of the travel expenditure and they can enjoy more at the destination. We all know that mass tourism has its own negative impacts, both on the environment as well as on the culture of the people. So, as a tourism professional, it is our duty and responsibility to help the tourist movement in lesser known destinations, to develop new products, to offer them competitive deals and take care of our environment. Noise pollution, water pollution and air pollution should not be created by the tourist. We should come up with more green and eco-friendly practices. We should discourage the movement of tourists to the same mass destinations and also help them to understand that they are responsible tourists. They have a responsibility towards the society and they are the stakeholders in the overall tourism development process. Thank you so much.